special Topix 2 test 6 here. And then we got a watch here. I may have a weak battery on my camera. What is unique about the 3-cylinder Insight and 4-cylinder Civic engines? Do they have direct injection fuel injection? Do they have an offset crankshaft? Do they have a no 12-volt starter motor, which Civics used to have, right? Do they have both use indexed spark plugs? They got an offset crankshaft, but what's an indexed spark plug, guys? Tell me about an indexed spark plug. Anybody know that? What is an indexed spark plug? Now I'm going to take a spark plug right here, and I want to know, like the old people that were gearhead race boys, you know, that would, you know, road race around here. I mean, we're talking 60s and 70s, you know, back whenever you could race on the back roads and the cops didn't mind all that much. You know, now they'll lock you up and throw away the key. But anyway, they would take what they wanted to do in those days was have it so that this gap here was pointing straight at the intake valve. That's how they wanted it to be. And so what they do is they make a mark so they know where that gap was, and they knew which way they wanted it to point. And so they would put shims under it and stuff, you know, special washers, so that when they stopped tightening it, it was pointing the right way. And some of these little the engines, not only are they indexed, but they're actually numbered A, B, C, and D on some of these hybrid vehicles. So just be really aware of that it's not just screwing a plug out and putting another one back in there. You got to pay attention to the indexing on the plug. Anyway, on that one is an offset crankshaft. When the V6 Accord hybrid engine is operating on 3 cylinders, what's done to reduce the noise and vibration? What do they do on that? Does it retard ignition timing to reduce noise and vibration in the cylinders? Does it use active engine mounts? Does it use active noise control? Or does it use B and C? Yeah, it's basically got noise. Have any of you guys ever used noise canceling headphones? They have batteries. They have the batteries in them where you got to turn on the headphones. You ever use those? Like when you're cutting the grass, I had some that I'd.
Oh, the big ones?
Well, they just actually, not all of them are big, but I put some on there. I had some that didn't even cover my ears, but they would go up against my ears like that. And when I was cutting the grass with that noise canceling function turned off, I couldn't even hear what I was listening to. I mean, it was just wah, the lawnmower, you know. And when I flipped that little switch and turned two little AAA batteries in there, all of a sudden, all the lawnmower noise was gone, and I could hear that stuff. And it had a special noise canceling quality about it. And so in order to control on the V6 Accord hybrid engine, whenever it's operating on 3 cylinders, you know, it makes more racket and all this drives customers crazy. So if you ever see a V6 hybrid that is, that they say is extremely noisy, but everything else seems okay, you need to make sure that you don't have a blown radio fuse. Because the radio fuse may not be making any noise, but it's actually producing all, you know, frequencies to balance out. Imagine a vibration damper. They kind of do that with noise. So anyway, if you got a blown radio fuse on one of those, I mean, the radio actually works even when the car is turned off to make sure that it makes it feel smooth. And it's amazing how different it is. You know, if you pull that fuse out there, you can hear the difference. Most Honda hybrid electric vehicles have a dash display that includes blank and blank. A, power and economy. B, cruise and idle. C, assist in charging. Or D, deceleration and acceleration. Number 3, that's C. Assist and charging. Okay. Honda hybrids will still use the 12-volt battery and conventional starter motor under what conditions? A, SOC of the battery module is low. What's SOC? State of charge. Very good. B, ambient temperature is below 0 degrees Fahrenheit. C, failure of the IMA system. And what's IMA system? Anybody remember? We're talking hybrids now. Integrated motor assist. Remember those? Can you remember that? IMA? All right. So any of the above. Now number 4 is actually going to be D. Any of the above. If the state of charge is low, if ambient temperature is below 0 degrees, or if it's got a failure IMA system. Okay, number 5. The state of charge on the high voltage batteries is usually commanded to be what? 80 to 100%, 10 to 70, 50 to 80, 10 to 50. What's that? A C. 50 to 80%. You don't want it too much, you don't want it too low. It reduces battery life, and batteries are not cheap for these cars. All right. Let's see. Number 6. Which of the following conditions will prevent the ice from entering the idle stop mode? Number 6 is going to be air conditioning is in the auto mode. Ice has not entered closed loop. Transmission is in reverse gear.
What is ice in case of emergency?
Internal combustion engine. It's in case of emergency only in relation to your cell phone. All right. Number D. That's D. All of the above. All of the above. Idle stop mode, meaning when you let your foot off the gas and you're coming to a stop, it shuts the engine down. If it shuts the engine off, what are you not doing? You're not burning gas.
Oh, I see.
Yeah, internal combustion. If you shut the engine off, you're not burning gas, and you're not putting any, exhaust out. All right, and you see why they're trying to do that. Number 7, the LAF sensor is capable of measuring air fuel ratios as lean as what? D. 25 to 1. 25 to 1. Alright. Now what does that mean? What's 25 to 1 mean? When I say 25 to 1 in an air fuel ratio, what am I talking about?
25
torque.
Okay, are we talking weight, volume, what?
volume.
Well, actually you're burning like 9,000 gallons of air for each gallon of gasoline. So volume is 9,000 to 1, so or something. So it's going to be by weight. All that. Did you know air? If I put 100 pounds of air pressure in that yellow tank that we air up tires with, does that tank weigh any more than it did before I put the 100 pounds of air in it?
No.
It weighs a little more because it's air has weight, or it would float out into space. So there is some weight to air. So if you can measure the air and fuel by weight, air's got to have some weight. You got to be able to weigh it. Even light has weight.
Really?
Yeah. Have you ever seen one of those little things, that funky little light bulb? That little light bulb in there, it's got the little paddles in it. It's got the little light bulb, it's got a little paddle in it that's got specially coating on one side of those paddles. And it's in a vacuum inside that little light bulb thing. And you can slide it out there in the sunlight and that thing will start spinning. Because those photons are hitting it and making it move. But so the light's got weight too, believe it or not. All right.
The internet has weight too. You know that?
Yeah, well, I know it makes me wait too many times. All right, so let's see. High voltage batteries used in Honda hybrid electric vehicles are what? One large battery module. B, made up of D cell size batteries. C, 144 volt 1 volt batteries, and 12 VLR battery. Which is it? It's going to be 8's going to be B. Boy. Made up of D cell size batteries. You remember the videos I showed you of him holding them long orange thing? That's actually a bunch of batteries stacked in series. You can take enough flashlight batteries, and if you get them put together the right way, I mean, you can do amazing things with flashlight batteries. You keep adding 1.5 volt, and up and up and up and up. You can make tons of voltage with batteries like that. Okay, now let me see. Let me make sure I'm down here where I'm supposed to be. Where are the MCM and BCM located?
What's MCM and BCM?
That's under the hood. Well, I don't know that. Wait a minute.
That's behind the rear seat. All that stuff's behind the seat.
It's just that pink cable that runs up under the hood.
Orange.
It's orange, it's not pink. It also is going to run underneath the car. Now remember what I told you about hybrid electrical systems. On hybrid electrical systems, the hybrid battery is not grounded to the car at all. Like on your regular car battery, your 12 volt, it's grounded to the frame, and the power side of it goes to where the loads and all. But the hybrid battery is totally isolated from the car entirely. There's no connection to the car body in any way. And they're kind of doing that because they don't want it trying to find a ground through you. Because that could be pretty nasty. Okay, so let's see. How are the batteries cooled? A, coolant cooled. B, air cooled. C, air conditioning evaporator cooled. D, both A and B. That's actually B. I will tell you that on the on that Chevy Volt,
B or D? D.
on that Chevy Volt, you know where the battery is on a Chevy Volt?
In the back.
Runs right down the middle of the car,
Oh, yeah.
and it's actually liquid cooled. You know, they got it cooled by liquid in there. They had to do that because it was.
Are they catching on fire?
I read somewhere that those cars cost GM $90,000 to build, and they only sell it for about half of what it cost them to build it. Isn't that silly? That's government motors, you know. What can you expect? Yeah, they were having issues with that. That's why they had to go back and do that. Technician A says the 2005 Civic can disable 3 of its 4 cylinders during deceleration by keeping the corresponding valves closed. Technician B says this is done by using a 4-piece rocker arm and 4 cam lobes for each valve. Which technician is correct? That's A. It's basically got a little pin that slides out so that the rocker arm won't work. You know, it's operated by, and then it pops it back in there whenever it's needing those cylinders. Technician, well, they do want a little bit of engine braking there, but not a whole lot. Technician A says currently all Honda hybrid electric vehicles feature 4-cylinder gasoline engines. Technician B says currently all Honda hybrid electric vehicles offer manual transaxles. And number 12 is neither one of those guys.
Man, them Hondas, almost every Honda, whenever you get out to go on the interstate, sound like some little squirrels.
Yeah.
They just sound so wimpy.
Yeah, we need to pay attention to that. Technician A says
the brand new ones like that. Weird.
Yeah, they make they sound different. You know what a Tesla is, right? The car.
Yeah.
Has an electric car. And I was at the when I was at the I was either at the Max convention or somewhere. It's about it's a $110,000 car that they make that's fully electric. It's got a 200.
No.
It's got a,
it doesn't take like,
yeah.
What is it? Take a gallon of gas for every 7 miles. Bugatti.
Yeah. Well, that particular that Tesla car is really, it's sort of like a hot rod electric car, and it goes like 225 miles on a charge. And I was asking a guy, I says, is it pretty swift when you take off on it? And he says you can destroy a set of tires just boiling the hides taking off, because instantly you got power with an electric motor. It doesn't have to go to a torque curve. Just start as soon as you punch it. And he traveled all over the country, you know, fixing stuff when the cars have something wrong. Yeah. Yeah, those are cool cars, but I mean, think about it is if I'm driving from here to Hattiesburg, Mississippi, I'm going to stop and charge up before I get to Granny's house. That ain't working for me. You know what I'm saying? All right. All right. During let's see. Technician A says, oh, by the way, we got on number 12 was a D. There's neither technician's right. Technician A says separate audio system used in addition to the CD entertainment system for noise cancellation when the Accord Hybrid is in 3-cylinder mode. Technician B says the owner's manual information is made available to the vehicle owners on Honda's website. Which technician is correct?
A.
That's pretty cool, but B is correct about that. Yeah, that particular one, you know. And you guys, I'm telling you, if you've got anybody, you guys need to be digging in that textbook and making sure you read this stuff. I'm going to be throwing you an open book test in a fairly short period of time, probably week after next, because the grades are due August 5th. Got me? And if you don't have a textbook, you're going to be sunk. And so you need to come up with one somehow, you know, or borrow one, beg one, whatever, and all that. So
one from the bookstore.
Yeah, don't go there. That lady's armed and dangerous. Okay. All right. Now then, let's see. Number 14, D. What provides data for the state of charge indicator? Active battery monitor, body control module, powertrain control module, or battery condition monitor module? Who now is the answer to that question? Okay, the speedometer, that's actually number 14 is going to be dog. Battery condition monitor module. That's BCMM. Now, you know, you can get so bogged down on all these abbreviations. Actually, something's not an acronym unless it spells a word. You know, so if you can say acronym when you're just talking about something like MPH, but that's not an acronym, that's just an abbreviation. Speedometer on Honda Accord hybrid electric vehicle sold in the U.S. is only configured to display miles per hour. That's false.
That's false.
Okay, number 16. During low-speed cruising with the 2006 hybrid blank, what? A, no gasoline is consumed at all. B, the electric engine alone can power the vehicle. C, both A and B. D, neither A nor B. That's actually C. That's C. A and B. Now, the Ford Fusion that they came out with in 2010, one of its claims to fame is it can go 1.5 miles at 50 miles an hour just on the battery. You know, well, you got to get away from this notion with hybrid vehicles that I'm just going to run on my battery, and if I run out of gas, because if you drive one of those things, you know, most of them, if you run out of gas, you're going to go about a mile, and you're going to be sitting beside the road with a dead battery, because they're not made to just go and go and go and go. You know, the ones that have the engine and the other. Now the Chevy Volt's not really a bad design as far as I can tell, because it's got a 3-gallon gas tank, and if you have to, you can actually drive the car. You can keep filling up that 3-gallon gas tank pretty regularly and drive the car on the gas if you need to go somewhere. So they don't totally throw you in the wind with no way to go until you've charged it up. See what I mean? That was a pretty smart thing they did on that, I think. I mean, I like it. And, let's see. Technician A says Honda's hybrid ICE is cranked at 1,000 RPM during starting. Technician B says the operation of the gasoline engine in the Honda hybrid is known as integrated motor assist. That's what I was talking about a while ago. Which technician is correct? 17. That's A. What can you tell me about the way the Honda? What's the difference in the way a Honda's made and the way the Toyotas and the Fords are made, basically? You remember? Can anybody give me a shot at that? Well, there are two different hybrid systems. Now, we actually watched that on that video early on.
I don't remember.
I remember you explaining, but I don't remember exactly what.
Yeah, it's a lot to remember.
Okay, so, huh?
When it comes to a stop, it stops. It shuts down.
I'm talking about how the way it's built, not how it works.
Oh.
I mean, not the characteristics of its operation, but how it's put together. Now,
One of them, the electric motor's on the side, and one of them is between the motor and transmission.
well, you're thinking about series versus parallel. That's okay. I mean, you're moving in the right direction with that answer. That's not a bad answer necessarily, but think of this. Take your engine and your transmission apart and put the electric motor between them. That's the Honda. So basically, the Honda's got the electric motor between there. Yeah. And the other one is in the two motors are in the transaxle. Now remember, you got MG1, MG2. You got 3 different components of this thing that are hooked to the 3 different. How many components does your planetary gear set in that CVT have on those? It's got a sun gear, it's got a ring gear, and it's got planetary gears, right? Now, this is something I'm trying to burn in so you guys remember this. Okay, the engine is bolted to the planetary gear carrier. You got me? The crankshaft is bolted to that planetary carrier. Okay, the MG1 is the little motor, which is the one that starts the engine. Of course, it also does other things, but it's the one that starts the engine. It's the starter, you know. And it's actually connected to what? The sun gear, and MG2 is connected to the ring gear. So those 3 motors are connected, and the engine always engine either runs not at all or forward, and the electric motors can run either direction depending on what gear you're in and how much, you know, what kind of button. So you may have situations going forward where the electric motors are running in opposite directions, or they may be, you know, turning in the same direction. So there's a little chart that you can look at and get completely crazy, you know, trying to figure all that out. But when Craig was there, I have a video of that somewhere. He had a little thing with a little mock-up there where you had these little potentiometers where you could run these motors back and forth, hooked to a planetary gear set and all. And in order to find different speeds, you'd have to turn the knobs back and forth and reverse this motor and go faster on that one for the speeds to change. I mean, it's really interesting to watch. You know, I don't know who in the world put that together for him, but it was ingenious. Anyway, it was a cool thing to see because it kind of helps you understand that all the motors aren't always turning forward. Sometimes the electric motor is turning backwards. The internal combustion engine can't turn backwards, so it's either going to be stopped. All right, now what happens when you put it in reverse? The motor ain't working. The electric, you know, the motor's pushing, you know, or what backs it up is totally on electric. Anytime you're backing up, you're totally on electric, and the engine's not being used. All right, let me come on down here. What question were we on? I got sidetracked.
18 now.
18. B.
Under most conditions, what is used to start the ice? And this is actually, we're talking Honda here, right?
Doesn't say that. B.
What do you think? Number 18?
B.
C.
Why, what the thing is IMA?
That is the integrated motor assist. The engine, I mean, the engine is started by the IMA because it's connected to the crankshaft, right?
You lost me on that one. Integrated motor.
The center of that thing goes into a permanent magnet. It's so strong. And we were over there, and I've got videos of that too, where we're up there. And Craig was showing us how you, and he's been teaching us for a long time, he was showing us how you get this special tool that you put on there, and it's sort of like a puller, and it extracts the core of that motor out of that magnetic field that it's in, because it's super, super strong. And I told Craig, I said, I think I can jerk that darn thing out of there. And he says, well, give it a try. And so I jerked it out of there. He goes, hey, let me try that. He just never had even tried it because there's a special tool, you know. But now when you put it back in, you got these pins you got to put in there so that when you put it in there, you'll be putting it in the right way. And when you get that thing close to that magnetic field, that thing will jerk it out of your hand. Bang! It'll just slam in there, scare the daylights out of you if you don't know that's coming. So and if you hit your finger behind it, you just lost it, man. I mean,
You just lost that?
Don't go there, you know.
Did they tell you that before you were doing it?
Well, if you see it happen one time, you're not. That's like seeing, you know, watching a guillotine cut a cantaloupe. Say, I don't think I'm gonna stick my head in there. Right?
Yeah, right.
All right, so. Okay, let me see. Where are we at here? Let's see. Oh, here we go. Where is the 12-volt battery located in a Toyota Prius? Is it under the hood, passenger side, in the trunk, under the back seat, or under the hood, driver's side?
Well, back seat. Well, technically, it could be under
That's
the back
actually
seat
B.
Or in the trunk.
It's in the trunk.
No, they put them in the back seat too.
Oh, in the Toyota Prius?
Yeah.
Yeah, maybe a different one, but usually the ones that most of the time it's in there kind of just in front of the right-hand tail light.
Yeah, but.
And what is it? Whenever it's a 12-volt battery, but
That's an incorrect question.
what's different about it? What's different about that battery?
It's a fully sealed battery. I don't know what that's called, like a.
It's a glass mat battery
Yeah.
to begin with. It does. I mean, it's got different innards, and furthermore, the posts on that battery are a different size than the ones on a regular battery.
Tiny.
They're smaller. So if you see a funky looking, and did you know, by the way, listen to this, you can buy glass mat battery to fit your regular car if you want to. They got them available at Advanced Auto Parts.
Is it better?
Well, it's supposed to be, but it's expensive, you know. Check with Advanced Auto Parts. What you need to do, if you do, call Advanced Auto Parts and say, can I buy a glass mat battery for my car? Because I mean, I saw one in a flyer that they sent that you could buy one, and I don't remember how much it was, but I mean, it's an interesting concept, you know, that you can get a glass mat battery.
It costs more than the auto.
It's pretty expensive. They said that it's so much better than the Optimus that anybody that buys an Optimus instead of a glass mat needs to have their head examined. Okay, I just said that because you have an Optimus. Pressing the power button one time, and the power button's that little button on the dash, without depressing the brake pedal causes the system to enter what mode? What is it?
Ready. Either ready or accessory one.
Accessory, that's right. We had what would happen, let me ask you this. What if you found yourself in an emergency situation? You remember all these Toyotas that they were talking about running away and everything? You know, just run away. And I'm talking about that they couldn't stop them and all that. And
That's because the mat before mats are getting stuck to the
well,
pedal.
no, I know, but what if you found yourself in a situation where you needed to shut that car down?
Slam it in the park.
And it's a push.
No, it's a button.
You don't really
You
have
gotta go nowhere if you slam that thing in the park.
No, it's a button.
No, it doesn't have that kind of a shifter, buddy.
Button
Oh.
press, like an electronic push.
Well, it's actually got this little lever. It goes, you know, up,
Oh,
down, and
so
over,
it depends.
and all that. And you know, that's actually electric when we put in park, and it won't go in the park when you're going down the road. It's protecting itself. Like if you bump that knob. All right, so what you're going to do if you need to shut one of them suckers down, if everything is going south on you, you just need to make it all stop. You just like your PC. You hold that button. Just hold it.
Power button?
for 3 or 4 seconds, and it shuts everything down, just like a Windows PC.
Imagine that.
That round button on the dash that says, the one that says start. Yeah, I guess. I mean. Yeah, when you mash it and hold, that's the button you start it with. You know, you get in there and you put your foot on the brake and you hit that button and it fires up and all. But if you hit that button and hold it, if you just hold that button, it shuts it down. That's what I mean. But that's not a mode that anybody usually ever thinks about when it's going 90 miles an hour and you're trying to dodge all the. You know, you see that old movie Capricorn 1 that Elliot Gould was on, and he went to see this woman he went to see his buddy who had disappeared while he was playing pool. And there was a woman living there he'd never seen before. And it was like his buddy just disappeared overnight. You know, I guess the government thing got away. So he got his little Mustang, and he took off on that thing. And he noticed it was going faster and faster. And you know all the stuff that you said you would have tried if you were in that movie? He tried it all. He had a park brake. He hit the brake. He was moving the gear shifter. He was turning the key this way and that. He just turned around and around. And all he had was steering and speed. And he was in downtown Houston. He was going through alleys, popping across floors and blowing. Man, it's scary to watch, man. You know, he kept doing stuff trying to stop that car. But anyway, on these other cars, like these hybrids, you can just smash the button. If you never saw that movie, you ought to watch it. Capricorn 1. It came out back in the 70s. Real good movie. But it was, but that was just one little tiny part of it. Let me see here. What number were we on?
21.
Well, on a Prius, what does the B mean on the shift indicator? Booking, braking, battery, or backup? That means braking, basically. Yeah.
There's a B on there?
21. There is a B on there. No, that's. Hmm.
On the shift indicator, there's a B that says braking.
Yeah. All right. The energy monitor screen on a Toyota Prius shows the driver everything except what? A, when the electric motor is powering the vehicle. B, when the gasoline engine is powering the vehicle. C, when the gasoline engine is charging the high voltage batteries. Or D, when the rear motor is generating electricity during braking. D.
B.
Yep. Yep. You're going to see a lot of cool stuff on there. Now, not all of them hybrids have a screen on there telling you all that information. I mean, as far as the fancy liquid crystal screen. Yeah. In order for Toyota Prius to start, what has to be okay? A, the auxiliary 12-volt battery must be sufficiently charged. B, the brake pedal must be depressed. C, the high voltage battery has to be sufficiently charged to crank the engine. Or D, all of the above. That's 23. That's D, all of the above. The Toyota Prius, Highland, and Lexus RX 400H are what kind of HEV? Mild, plug-in, medium, or full?
Medium.
It's D. The other thing, the strong hybrids. The Lexus RX 400H hybrid electric vehicle uses which of the following systems? That's number 25. Does it use VDIM, EPS, ETC, or all of the above? You know they got all kinds of alphabets on that thing. That's all the above, man. All right. Number 26. Toyota hybrid electric vehicle is being discussed. Technician A says the service plug should be removed anytime the hybrid vehicle system is being serviced. Technician B says the service plug should be secured to prevent another technician from installing it while you are servicing the vehicle. Don't you know that would just really be pretty stupid? You pop your orange plug out, and you got it laying here, and you're over here with your hands all over these big cables going to the inverter, and somebody says, "Oh, Joe must have left this out." So, all right. What you do is you take that sucker and you put it somewhere where nobody but you can find it, in the back of your toolbox in the bottom. Now that way, if that guy knows where you put it and he puts it in there, he wanted to kill you. Now, what Ford did, what they had us in 2005 when they came out with that Escape, they had these. You were supposed to take. Now this is funny. You were supposed to take purple cones, you know, like traffic cones, and put them all around the back of the vehicle where you were working on it. And you were supposed to have the technician disconnect tool handy. And what that is, it's a piece of PVC pipe with a hook on the end, so that if the guy's getting all caught up in the electrical, another guy can use it and jerk him off of that thing with his hook. Nobody else required that stuff, but they were scared to death somebody was going to get fried. And from what the last I heard, Craig was talking about when he teaches that class, and I don't know if this has changed or not, but he says in all the years hybrids have been out there, and they've been out there since like '09, you know, see that little hybrid thing up there? Anyway, they've been out there since '09, but there's no record anywhere of anybody ever being killed by the voltage in a hybrid. And you are supposed to. Okay, 26. Toyota HEV service is being discussed. Technician A says the service plug should be removed. Okay, we've already done that one. That one, 26 is one I needed to give you the answer. Just C, basically. Both technicians. You got to pull the service plug. Number 27. The high voltage batteries in Toyota hybrid electric vehicles are cooled by what? Phase change liquid, an air conditioning evaporator. Let's see, cabin air or coolant. Actually, cabin air cools it on those. Now on your Ford Escape, they've got a separate air conditioning system that cools the battery. But now it uses the same. It's kind of like you got rear air, but the only reason it's there is to cool the battery, which is really almost seems like a waste if you're really hot in the summertime. Number 28 is actually, where's the high voltage disconnect plug on a Prius?
Under the hood and driver's side.
28. What do you got there? Yeah, huh? Is it, that's actually in the trunk, by the way.
Yes, sir.
The battery's back there, and so is that. The disconnect is on the battery on that one. In number 29, which vehicle was the world's first mass-produced hybrid electric vehicle?
Toyota Prius.
Honda
Yeah.
Insight.
I mean, that's actually the Prius, but define hybrid. What's a hybrid vehicle anyway? How would you define a hybrid vehicle?
Something alternative, something that can run off something besides the engine.
If it has more than one means of propulsion, basically. You got me? If there's more than one thing that can move that vehicle, that's a hybrid. Now the reason I said that was Ford had these Rangers they made that were totally electric, and the whole bed was a little higher than the bed on a Ranger usually is, the bed of it, and they had a big old $18,000 battery under there if you had to buy another one. And it was just totally electric. You plug it in and charge it, and you can just drive that thing, making no noise whatsoever. Oh, and I started to say this while ago, and I forgot it. On that Tesla, they're wanting them to put something on it to make noise so people will hear it coming in town. Think about it. If somebody's coming along on one of those, and you're on a quiet street, and you may either hear the tires hitting the pavement, you may not. You may step out in front of it. And like I said, we're trying to do away with the noise pollution, and they're wanting us to make this thing make noise. I guess you could probably download some ringtones to make it sound like any kind of car you wanted, right? You know, it's going to sound like a 69 GTO, or maybe it's going to sound like that. Yeah, one of those little cars with a big dumb ugly muffler that's hanging off of them that everybody's driving around on now. You know, little ugly things. I'd rather hear my Chevrolet pickup with the straight pipes. You know what I'm saying? Blah, blah, blah. All right. Now, what number are we on?
30.
Technician A says Toyota hybrid electric vehicles use primarily hydraulic power steering systems. Technician B says all Toyota hybrid electric vehicle systems use master warning indicator. All right, Zach. Let's see. Master warning indicator on the driver information. Zach, go to sleep. All right. To alert a driver of vehicle problem. Which technician is correct? Technician B. You're not going to use the hydraulic power steering on these hybrid vehicles. They're going to have electric power steering on them. And the electric power steering runs off 12 volts. All right. Can you imagine having your power steering operated, you know, by the, 400, 500, 600 volts or whatever, if there was an opportunity that might help to short out? Fire you up. One day, there was this guy that was working with me down there when I was working at Sabine Offshore, and he was checking his Chrysler that wouldn't start, and somehow or another, when he pulled the coil wire, he touched it to something that where the spark ran up through the steering column and shocked the guy that was turning the key. I don't know how he made that happen, but it was he did it innocently. He did it on purpose. But the guy that was turning the key was.
Like a shock or like?
Yeah, it was. But that coil ran up through the steering column or found a ground somewhere through the guy and knocked the tire out of him. I don't know how that was possible, but they both verified it. The driver information display on a Toyota Prius A uses a picture of a turtle to indicate the vehicle has a serious problem. B is a touchscreen interactive design. C, both A and B. D, neither A nor B.
I'm going with A.
That's actually B. It's a touchscreen interactive design. Now there is a turtle on some of them things, but all right. Optional smart key features include what? Electronic key for starting the vehicle, passive remote function to unlock and lock the doors or start the vehicle, wireless transmitter to lock and unlock the doors, all of the above. Now you know this little key right here? It's actually a rechargeable thing on some of these vehicles, and it's got there's a little square hole next to the steering column you shove it up in. That's not to start the car, that's just so you'll have a place to put it. And it also charges the batteries in that little fob when you got it in there. And if you've kept that thing out of there long enough where the batteries go dead, you'll have a no start until you shove it up in there and power it up. See where I'm going with that?
That's what thing is for?
Yeah.
I never just bought a new car. I can't remember what car we just bought. But I think it's a Nissan something. Anyways, his keys, when he takes out his keys, he doesn't lock the door. As soon as he starts walking away, if he gets certain feet, the door is automatically locked. When he comes close in range, they unlock.
Yeah. Now they also got the one that's got that little button on the door. You know, you just walk up there, and if you got your fob in your pocket, you can open the door. Somebody without the fob in their pocket can't open the door.
I always wonder what that button was for.
Yeah, you just that's how you just get in there. Another thing, it was kind of funny. There was a little keyless. It's a strange thing, and this little, I think it was a Nissan or Toyota or something. This lady brought over here for us to do an oil change on. There's no key, but there is a thing that kind of looks like you're supposed to stick a key in there, but it's blocked, so you can't get a key in it. And you start it like that, but it won't start unless you got this little fob thing. And Brandon Ballard was here, and I said, okay, look at this, guys. I'm going to show you how you start this car. So I got in the car with the fob in my pocket, and I fired it up. There you go. Switch it off. Okay, now, Brandon, you get in there and start it. So I got out, and he got in there. I can't get it to do anything. I says, I'm going to have to show you how to do it. Okay. So I got in there, and I says, okay, car, you're supposed to start for me, even if you didn't start for Brandon. He goes, this is one of those voice-activated vehicles. I've heard about these. And it was funny. Anyway, if you got the fob in your pocket, it'll do whatever you want to, but there are proximity sensors. There's one in the back, two in the front. If it's between those, then you're good to go. Like you can drop in your cup holder or something like that. See? I mean, see some of these. But now that's not just hybrid. That's a lot of the other ones that are. A lot of these cars got push button start now. Yeah, they're like that now. All right, now then we're gonna go. Let's see. Where are we at? 36? No. The second generation Prius has how many by-wire features? They include all the following except what? What about steering? You can steer by wire, not on anything we got nowadays. Well, that may happen one day, but it ain't happening now. 34. Technician A says the Prius has a backup 12-volt starter mounted on the outside of the transaxle housing. Technician B says it has an auxiliary 12-volt jumper cable terminal under the hood in case it runs out of fuel and the high-voltage battery unit is discharged. Which technician is correct? D. Neither technician. Technician A says the Toyota Prius is a closed fuel tank system. It completely seals the fuel system off using electronic controls and displays a message on the information center when the system has been unsealed and is ready to be filled. That sounds kind of bogus, doesn't it? Technician B says the system is available on the Toyota Highlander Hybrid and Lexus LX 400H model only. Which technician is correct? B. There is a system like that, but it's only available on the RX 400H.
I've never seen a Lexus RX 400H. I don't even think that is.
It's like a Toyota Highlander, except it's a Lexus, basically.
Pretty expensive.
Technician, huh?
Yeah.
Yeah. Technician A says some failed high voltage battery assemblies may be repaired. Technician B says high voltage battery assemblies often are warranted for as long as 8 years or 50,000 miles.
Yeah, probably.
There is a place out there, and you can repair the high voltage battery assemblies. There is a place out there, and what we're going to do, I think when those people are here, we're going to have that Toyota battery that I've got out. We're going to take it out and pull the cover off, and we'll show you guys what's inside of one of those, let you play around with it, stick your tongue to it, this kind of thing, you know.
Sweet.
No, actually, we've already discharged it, so there's not a volt in it at all. I mean, so I made sure that. Now, when it came here, this is what was amazing. That hybrid battery was one I got from Toyota, and it laid in that cardboard box for a solid 2 years. And everything, and of course I would take it apart and we would look at it. I mean, but we used our gloves and all that. And when Craig came here to teach the 4-hour class that he taught, the guy that teaches the hybrid stuff, he actually measured the voltage on the battery just for the heck of it to see what was in it, because it had been there for 2 years, and that thing still had 300 volts in it. It was just, you'd have thought it would have gone dead, you know, over that period of time, but it was still had 300 volts in it, which made it dangerous, you know. And you know how would you drain a battery like that?
Ground it out for a long time.
Well, you're probably talking welding machine stuff, man. All right.
I got an argument yesterday.
Huh?
I got in an argument with a friend yesterday about. He said if
What do you
you
mean
put
your personal business?
no, if you put a battery on the concrete, it drains the battery. That's what he said.
That is something that I have heard people say forever, but I have put batteries on concrete all my life, and I've never seen it kill one.
That's what I said. I said.
How can it do that? You know?
He said, well, I put it on the concrete for 3 months. I said, well, put it on your bench for 3 months.
Yeah.
And then try it.
Yeah, tell me, well, you know, and I've seen people actually take a piece of wood when they put in a battery. I don't know, unless they're concerned that the concrete being cold when temperature changes would ultimately drain it somehow, but I haven't experienced that personally, you know, and I've never even.
That's the way I've been taught.
Yeah, they do that in the Army. As a matter of fact, that's why, like, I did that with a little pig mat.
Yeah.
Because in the Army, they tell us, like, don't put any batteries completely on the ground. I'm like, why? We all said why. They're like, it goes against regulations. They say that someone in the Army that's so awesome at vehicles said, always put a block of wood or something in between.
Well, forevermore, I mean, I've heard a lot of that, you know, but what he's just actually parroting what people have told him. You know what I mean? Apparently, and like I say, the only thing that could possibly cause an issue with that is if the concrete gets cold and hot and cold and hot and cold and hot and cold and hot, it might eventually drain it. But basically, you know, just if you got a trickle charger around, put it on the concrete. It don't matter. It'll be fine. It don't destroy the battery. I mean, it may burn it out. Okay, but let's see, where was I headed with it? Oh, I was going to ask you, how do you drain a battery? Like if you've got a hybrid battery and you want to drain it to where there's no juice left in it at all, and you want to do it safely, how are you going to do it? How's the hybrid battery constructed? Think about how they put it together. Huh? A bunch of batteries put together. How though? In series. Okay, so you got these strap that's going. You know, the batteries are laid in here, positive to negative. You know, with the negatives and positives like they are, and so you put them. You know, with it going across there. You know, they got this little copper strip that's got them all hooked up, and then it goes around. But the long and short of it is, you take the bus bars off. We call them little copper strips that hook all batteries together, like on this one I got. And each battery then has got 8 volts, which is not even a whole much at all. And so you just take a headlight bulb or something and hook it to each battery one at a time, and just let it burn until it goes dead. Move it to the next battery, let it burn until it goes dead. But don't take those batteries apart and, you know, expect to charge them up, put them back together, because they'll swell up a little bit and you'll never get them back together in that package. That's just something you need to know too, you know. Anyway, so now something else I wanted to talk to you guys about.